it.
Yeah. Very disturbing, isn't it?
That's good. That's what I told you. Wait, where did I put my power bank? Trust me, guys. Maybe he knows.
If you lose your thing, you have to find it yourself. There's no official system for it.
What am I gonna do? Hello, thank you for being here. Today, we are from TSLB1074 will be presenting the scenario for the lost and found problem on our campus. I'm Hanie, the president of the Student Council. Joining me are...
I'm Amylia, representing the Discipline and Student Affairs unit.
And hi, I'm Sofiyah, as an IT student and app developer.
I'm Izzah, a peer mentor representative who works closely with student support programs.
Now, the issue of lost and found items might sound simple, but it's something that affects almost every student on campus. Where did I put my power bank again?
And then that. Not mine.
This happens more often than we think. Some students do not want to report because they don't know where to. Some just afraid to be blamed, and some other just assume it's not my problem. So that attitude creates a campus environment where trust slowly disappears.
We've all had that moments where we misplace something important, maybe your ID card, your tumbler, your umbrella, or even your phone charger. And often, the problem isn't losing the item itself, but not knowing where to find it afterward. Currently, there's no proper system in place to handle lost and found cases. Some items end up at the security post, others are handed to lecturers or staff, and many are just forgotten. This causes frustration, distrust, and unnecessary stress, especially when the item lost is valuable or needed for daily campus activities like an ID card. So, to understand how serious this issue is, our group conducted a small online survey among 40 students from various courses and semesters. The results were quite revealing.
Okay, cool.
78% of respondents admitted they have lost something important on campus at least once. 65% others said they had no idea where to report or check for lost items. 52% said their only solution was to ask around on WhatsApp or Instagram. These numbers show that the problem isn't just random, it's systemic. It affects the daily lives of students and even the reputation of campus management. From our findings, we realized that the issue comes from two sides. First, the absence of an organized system to manage lost and found cases. And two, the behavior and attitude of students themselves. Many do not take care of their belongings or feel responsible to report found items. Therefore, our proposed project, Smart Finder, combines digital technology with awareness initiative to tackle both sides at once. But before we explain our solution, Amy will discuss the root causes in more detail from a lecturer's perspective.
Thank you, Hanie.
As someone involved in the Discipline and Student Affairs Unit, often receive reports and complaints about lost items, everything about ID cards to even laptops. Based on my experience and observation, the causes can be grouped into three main areas: student behavior, system limitations, and communication gaps. The first one is student behavior and responsibility. Many students today live very busy lives. They move from class to class, juggling assignments, co-curricular activities, and personal commitments. In this rush, they often become careless, leaving belongings behind in lecture halls, cafeterias, or even computer labs. This habit reflects a lack of awareness and personal discipline. Students treat small items like water bottles or notebooks as replaceable, but these habits grow and eventually lead to carelessness in other areas too. As educators, we see this as an opportunity to teach responsibility and mindfulness, not through punishment but through practice. Second is lack of centralized system. Currently, our campus has no standard procedure for reporting or claiming lost items. Different departments handle it differently. Some accept lost items, others direct students elsewhere. This inconsistency leads to confusion, wasted time, and often lost trust between students and staff. When there is no clear system, people stop trying. They just assume their belongings are gone for good. Third, ineffective communication channels. When a student finds an item, the usual practice is to post it on group chats or even social media stories. While this shows initiative, it's unreliable. Not everyone will see it, and the post disappears quickly.
I lost my water bottle. Oh, I can use Smart Finder.
Some students even hesitate to report found items because they don't know where or how to do it. These three causes, carelessness, poor structure, and weak communication, form the foundation of this problem. And as we can see, this is not a single issue to fix. It is something that requires both system innovation and behavioral change. So now, to explain the digital solution we have designed, I will pass it to Sophie, who will introduce the technical aspect of our proposal, Smart Finder.
Thank you, Amy. As an IT student, I have always believed that technology should make our lives simpler and more efficient. And that's exactly what we aim to do with Smart Finder. For your information, Smart Finder is a digital lost and found platform. It is designed specifically for our campus. It is accessible through both a mobile app and a website. The goal is to make it easy for students and staff to report, locate, and claim lost items quickly, safely, and transparently. Here, let me explain the three key features of Smart Finder in detail. First of all, report lost or found items. Whenever a student loses or finds something, they can submit a simple online form. It includes the item's name, color, last known location, and also date, along with an option to upload a photo. Whose water bottle is this? Never mind, let me write in the Smart Finder app.
The absence of a centralized system leads to frustration. When students lose something valuable, they waste hours walking from the library to the office to the guard post. Imagine if instead of walking, they could simply tap an app, see the report, and know exactly where to go.
That's why we need Smart Finder to bring structure, trust, and efficiency back to our campus system. And to explain how it works, I will pass the floor to our IT expert.
This replaces the need for random group messages and makes all reports accessible in one place. Second, Smart Auto Matching System. The app uses a matching algorithm to connect similar reports. For example, if someone reports a black pencil case lost in Block B and another person submits a found pencil case in Block B, both users receive a notification instantly. This feature reduces time and wasted searching and also improve efficiency.
That's my water bottle.
Finally, the verification and secure collection. Once a match is confirmed, the student can claim the item at the Lost and Found Center. It is located at the Student Council office. But they will need to verify ownership by answering short questions or showing their student ID. This is to ensure the system is safe and trustworthy. In addition, Smart Finder can be integrated into the university student portal. It is allowing users to log in with their student email. This can provide extra security and authenticity, and it also helps the administration track how many items are lost and found each semester. It is interesting, right? So by centralizing data and communication, Smart Finder can save time for both students and staff, reduces confusion, builds trust, and encourages responsibility. Just imagine, what used to take days now only takes minutes. But even the best digital tool will fail if students don't change their habits. That's why we added a second component to our proposal, which is the awareness campaign, which will be explained by Izzah.
Thank you, Sophie. I'm Izzah. As a peer mentor representative, I've learned that technology is only part of the solution. The real challenge lies in changing human behavior. That's why, alongside Smart Finder, we, peer mentor representative, also are launching an awareness program called Care for Your Things, Care for Your Campus. This campaign focuses on building 3 key values among students. First is awareness, second, honesty, and third, responsibility.
Wow, there's lost item app poster.
With QR code. If I lost my items, I can use it.
It also links directly to Smart Finder, right?
Yeah.
In our programs, we are going to do 3 things. First is awareness posters and QR codes. We will place eye-catching posters across the campus, in the library, cafeteria, and lecture halls, like anywhere. Each of the poster will have a QR code with them, linking directly to Smart Finder. So if anyone finds a lost item and they don't know who the owner is, they can just simply scan the QR codes and report it on the spot. Second is social media engagement. We will use official campus social media, especially Instagram, TikTok, and also student portal to post updates about found item weekly. We also share short educational posts to remind students to take care of their own belongings and report any lost items they come across. The last one is reward and recognition program. To motivate good behavior, we will recognize students who return lost items with Honest Students Awards, including digital certificates and also social media shout-outs. This positive reinforcement encourages others to act responsibly too. Beyond that, our peer mentor team will hold a mini sharing sessions about campus etiquette and responsibility. We'll discuss real cases, share success stories from Smart Finder, and remind students that small acts of honesty can make a big difference. The goal of this campaign is not only to recover lost items, but it's also to build a campus culture where responsibility becomes a habit and awareness is also students' priority. Now, I'll hand back to Hanie for our conclusion.
Thank you, Izzah. If Smart Finder and our awareness campaign are implemented, we expect to see clear and measurable improvements on campus. Based on our projection, the recovery rate for lost items could increase by up to 70% within the first semester. Communication between students, lecturers, and administrative staff would become more organized and efficient. And most importantly, students would start developing a sense of accountability, both towards their belongings and towards each other. This initiative doesn't just solve a campus problem, it promotes lifelong learning values such as discipline, honesty, and care. The same values that shapes us into a better educator in the future. In short, Smart Finder is not only a system, but it is a symbol of how technology and character education can work together to create a better, more responsible community. Thank you for listening to our presentation. And before we end, we'd like to acknowledge that ChatGPT was used to help us organize and refine our ideas, but all analysis, understanding, and content are completely on our own. Alright team, so we already collected our survey and finished our main presentation. But before we finalize everything, let's have a proper discussion to go through how we actually came up with our solution.
Good idea. It's better to show our real thinking process, not just the final result. It gives people a sense of how we think as educators.
Yes, and maybe through this discussion, we can also explain the logic behind it and why we choose Smart Finder and how it fits our campus.
Exactly. They just talk normally, like a brainstorm session, and I'll explain how we came to this solution step by step.
And honestly, this whole process reminds me of what we always hear. Lifelong learning shapes our passion as future teachers. We're not just doing this for marks, but to keep improving and finding new ways to solve real problems.
That is right. Every project like this trains us to think critically, to analyze real-life situations. That is part of our lifelong learning journey. The more we do, the more we grow.
True. I think what makes this meaningful is how it connects to everyday student life. We are learning how to apply theory to practice, which is something very passionate teachers must master.
That's right. It's not just about learning in class. It's about how we turn learning into something that can benefit others, which is also the quantity of education we're talking about.
Okay, so let's start with what we observe. Honestly, I've seen so many students losing things on campus. Sometimes they even ask me directly since I'm the student council, but I can't help them much because there's no proper tracker system.
Yes, and from my perspective as a lecturer, I always see items left behind in classrooms, bottles, books, ID cards. It's a constant issue, but there is no proper structure to deal with it.
Exactly. So the main problem here is not only the lost items, it's the absence of a structured system.
Right.
So, and that reflects how management and awareness are both weak.
That's so true. Like when I lost my pencil last semester, I literally had to check for like 3 offices and ask 5 people about it. In the end, I just gave up.
And that's what made us realize the first real problem is that there's no proper space to report or check lost items.
Right. And the second issue is behavior. Some students are careless with their belongings and expect someone else to take responsibility.
That's why we agreed that it's both a management issue and a behavioral one. So I think we need to address both sides.
Yes, that's right. So even if we create a system, it won't work unless students change their mindset.
Exactly. So both structure and the attitude of students must change together. Like that become our foundation.
It is interesting because this stage really reflects lifelong learning. We learn to observe problems critically, question assumptions, and empathize with users.
And it also shows our growth as teachers in training. Instead of complaining about losing items, we explore the solutions. So that curiosity, that is the passion that driven by learning.
I like that point. But patience doesn't just appear. It grows when we keep learning from experience.
Yeah, I mean that's how we begin shaping quality education by practicing how we think, reflect, and act on real problems.
Alright, so how did we end up with Smart Finder?
Maybe it started when we talk about technology. Since we all now have our phone in our daily life, right? So I thought, why not we use a digital platform to report on lost and found items? I mean, that is convenient, accessible, and sustainable, right?
That makes sense. Everyone checks their phone more than notice boards. So if the system is mobile friendly, engagement will be much higher.
We also wanted something official, not just some random Instagram and WhatsApp post. Something linked to school system, so that people will feel like it's trustworthy.
And that is where the idea of connecting it with the student email came in. It adds credibility and ensures privacy.
That's right. So, Smart Finder lets users log in using their student ID. You can report if users are found something, and then the system will automatically matches both reports.
Plus, we included a physical lost and found center where items can be collected safely.
Yes. And to ensure honesty, the system asks for a short verification question, and in order to show, or you can show your ID to prove your ownership when taking the things.
This eliminates confusion like try this office or maybe the guardhouse has it. Everything becomes centralized.
And we named it as Smart Finder because it reflects our vision, a smart system for a smart campus. It sounds interesting, right?
Short, catchy, meaningful.
Yeah.
During the brainstorming, we also looked at similar systems at other universities. Like most of other universities system, they had one thing in common. Success only happened when students were actively involved.
Exactly. It is not about technology alone, but mindset and participation. That is also a teaching principle. Engagement matters more than instruction.
Yeah, and as lifelong learners, we also learn how to merge technology skills, communication, and empathy, all in once.
Yeah, that's how passion grows. When we use learning create real change.
To sum up our journey, we identified the issue, we gathered data, we discussed the causes, and we created Smart Finder. And also, we developed a sustainable campaign.
Through these, we learned that problem solving requires empathy, creativity, and also teamwork.
It also reminds us that teachers must model good behavior, not only teachers.
I'm proud of our collaboration. We use our difference for strengths. IT, education, communication to build something meaningful.
And hopefully, Smart Finder can be implemented one day on our campus.
That would have been amazing because this project wasn't just about an app. It was about growth, reflection, and also lifelong learning.
Yes, continuous learning keeps our passion alive and helps us move toward quality education.
Exactly. Let's carry this mindset beyond the classroom because lifelong learning doesn't stop when the project ends. It's who we become as teachers.
Yes!
From the beginning, my role was to look at things from a teacher's point of view. I always believed that every small issue we see in a school or a campus can become a meaningful learning opportunity if we approach it with curiosity and reflection. When we noticed that lost items kept happening, I did not just see it as a management problem. I saw it as a reflection of our community's discipline, awareness, and sense of responsibility. That was when it hit me that teachers are not only here to teach knowledge, but to build values. As we discussed and brainstormed ideas, I realized how important it is for teachers to be open minded and adaptive. At first, I wasn't that familiar with the tech side, like how apps work or how a system like Smart Finder could be developed. But working with my teammates, especially those who are more tech savvy, made me appreciate interdisciplinary learning. I learned how to merge educational concepts with technology and innovation. That is part of lifelong learning, which is staying humble, constantly learning from others, and not being afraid to explore new areas. One thing that really stood out to me was how our project naturally linked to quality education. Through Smart Finder, we were not just introducing a system, we were nurturing good habits among students. The idea of connecting this system to moral and character education really resonated with me because, in the end, quality education is not only about academic results, it's about shaping responsible and ethical individuals. It is about producing students who care about their surroundings, who value honesty, and who respect shared spaces. I also found the teamwork process extremely meaningful. Working with Hanie, Sophie, and Izzah taught me a lot about collaboration. We had moments of disagreement, especially when deciding which features to include and how to balance practicality with creativity. But we learned to listen and compromise. I realized that effective teamwork mirrors a classroom. Every member has different strengths and weaknesses, and it's the teacher's role to guide, support, and harmonize those differences. That made me reflect deeply on how I want to manage my future classroom with empathy, understanding, and patience. Another big lesson for me was about reflection itself. As we progressed, I kept thinking about how our actions mirror what we will face as educators. observing problems, analyzing causes, finding solutions, testing them, and reflecting on the outcomes. This cycle is exactly what lifelong learning looks like. It doesn't end when the assignment is done, it continues as part of who we are. There were challenges, of course. For me, one of the hardest parts was connecting our solution to educational principles, making sure it was not just a technology idea, but one that had pedagogical and more moral depth. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to make the project align with values like responsibility, honesty, and care for the environment. And that process reminded me that good teachers always go beyond surface level teaching. They guide students towards deeper understanding and awareness. I also learned that passion does not appear out of nowhere. It grows from experiences like this, from the moments we struggle, the times we doubt ourselves, and the satisfaction of seeing things finally make sense. This project reignited my belief that passion in teaching comes from continuous learning. The more we learn, the more we fall in love with the process of teaching. Another point I reflected on is how education and innovation are no longer separate. As future teachers, we need to be comfortable integrating technology into our practice. The 21st century classroom is built on digital literacy, and Smart Finder reminded me that learning to use technology isn't just about convenience. It is about building smarter, more connected communities. In the end, I think this whole journey reminded me why I chose this path. I want to be the kind of teacher who does not stop learning, who stays curious, humble, and open to new ideas. A teacher who guides students not only with knowledge but with values. Because at the heart of quality education is a teacher who never stops growing.
Looking back at everything we went through as a team, I can honestly say that this project changed the way I see learning, teamwork, and even teaching itself. At first, I thought it was just another task. Come up with a creative idea, present it, and move on. But as we went deeper, I realized that what we were doing actually represented what lifelong learning truly means. It's not just about collecting information, it's about continuously improving, adapting, and finding meaning in every single experience. From the very beginning, I remember being the one who kept saying, let's think about what students really face on campus. Because for me, the best solutions always start with observation. I had seen so many students lose their things, even myself. Water bottles, ID cards, books. And they'd come to me hoping I could help since I'm the student council. But every time I felt frustrated because there was no system in place. That helplessness was what sparked my motivation. I wanted to turn that frustration into something useful. As the discussion went on, I realized how powerful it is when we approach a real life problem from a learner's mindset. Instead of blaming the situation, we learn how to analyze it, to break it down and understand the root cause. That's when the concept of Smart Finder started forming, and I remember thinking, this is what lifelong learning looks like in action. We were not waiting for someone else to fix the issue. We were learning how to fix it ourselves. Working with my team, Amy, Izzah, and Sophie, also reminded me that lifelong learning is not just an individual process, but it is a shared journey. everyone had different perspective. Amy often related things back to teaching values and moral development. Sophie was strong in tech and design, while Iza brought the creative and communication aspect. My role was to make all of that connected, to guide our discussion so that we never lost sight of the big idea, how lifelong learning shapes our passion in achieving quality education. During the process, I learned a lot about leadership and listening. Sometimes I had to make decisions, and other times I had to step back and let others lead. That balance taught me humility and patience, qualities that every teacher needs. Because in a classroom, it's not always about being in control, but about knowing when to guide and when to let students discover things on their own. There were moments of doubt too. I remember wondering whether our idea would really make an impact. Would students even care enough to use Smart Finder? Would it just end up as another forgotten app? But those doubts made me reflect on what drives motivation and change. I realized that technology alone isn't enough. You need awareness, responsibility, and a sense of belonging. That's how our campaign, Care for Your Things, Care for Your Campus, was born. That part of the project really touched me because it wasn't just about an app anymore. It became about culture, about shaping how students think and act. That's what education should be, helping people become better, not just academically, but personally. And I realized that as teachers, we're not only responsible for delivering lessons, we're also shaping attitudes, habits, and values that last a lifetime. Another thing I've learned from this experience is how important it is to stay adaptable. We faced challenges, technical issues, time management, different ideas, but every problem forced us to think creatively. Instead of getting frustrated, we learned to adjust, compromise, and move forward. I think that's one of the most valuable skills any educator can have. And the ability to stay calm and find solutions even when things don't go as planned. This whole journey also reminded me why I love the idea of being a lifelong learner. Because every time I step up off my comfort zone, I grow. Whether it's by learning new digital tools, improving my communication skills, or just understanding my teammates better. That growth keeps my passion alive, and that I think how passion works. It doesn't just appear. It's built through instant learning and effort. Through Smart Finder, I've also realized that quality education isn't something abstract or far away. It starts in small actions, like caring for your things, respecting and shared spaces, and taking responsibility. When students practice that kind of discipline, the campus becomes more organized and everyone learns in a positive environment. In the end, this project became more than an assignment to me. It became a reflection of who I want to be as a teacher. Someone who observes, listens, learns, and acts with purpose. It taught me that real education happens when we connect knowledge with empathy. And that's something I want to carry into my teaching career. To never stop learning and to never stop caring. If I could sum it up in one sentence, it would be this. Lifelong learning shapes who we are, not just as teachers, but as human beings. It keeps us passionate, curious, and grounded. It helps us see challenges and opportunities and mistakes as lessons. Through every experience, we learn not only how to teach better, but how to live better. That's what this whole project reminded me. That passion isn't something you find once and keep forever, but it's something you have to keep learning to sustain. And that's exactly what lifelong learning is all about.
Firstly, for this project, my role as the peer mentor representative was to present the awareness and responsibility campaign for Smart Finder. Since the project was recorded in multiple shots, my main focus was on planning and performing my on-camera scenes. I needed to make sure my lines were clear, persuasive, and relatable, and that my gestures, expressions, and timing helped convey the importance of responsibility and honesty on campus. In addition, I had to think about how my scenes would fit visually with the rest of the video, so the audience could follow the story easily without getting lost between shots. Moreover, working with my team was one of the most valuable parts of this project. Each member had a distinct role, and we had to coordinate closely to make sure our parts flowed together naturally. I learned how important it is to communicate openly, give constructive feedback, and support each other during filming. For instance, when another teammate needed a retake or adjustment, I helped by giving encouragement or suggestions for gestures and timing. Furthermore, we collaborated on how our scenes would connect visually, making sure that my awareness campaign section complemented the technical and analytical parts presented by others. Through this teamwork, I realized that success in a project depends not only on individual effort, but also on how well everyone works together toward a shared goal. Later on, during the editing and final compilation, I observed how small adjustments like timing, transitions, and scene sequencing made the final video much smoother and more engaging. Seeing how the clips came together reinforced the importance of planning, collaboration, and attention to detail. In addition, through this project, I developed several skills. I improved my on-camera presentation skills, learning to speak confidently while considering the visuals. I also strengthened my planning and organizational skill as I needed to structure my scenes to communicate ideas effectively in short clips. Most importantly, I realized the value of creativity and problem solving, like finding ways to visually represent concepts like QR codes, social media engagement, and rewards in a way that was clear and interesting. Finally, this video project showed me that successful communication is not only about what you say, but also how you present it visually and interact with the medium. I am proud of my contribution and grateful for the teamwork that made the final video cohesive and engaging. So, overall, the experience has reinforced my understanding of responsibility, preparation, and collaboration, and also my skills in speaking with a correct grammar. And I believe these lessons will help me in future projects, both on and off camera.
Hi everyone! After completing our 2-hour group discussion on Smart Finder and the idea of lifelong learning shaping teachers' passion, I took some time to reflect on everything we have experienced together. This whole process, from identifying a small campus problem to creating a full solution, taught me lessons that go beyond any classroom theory. It made me realize what lifelong learning really means as a future educator. At first, we thought our topic was simply about lost and found items, but through discussion, we discovered something deeper. The issue was not just about missing things, but about mindset, awareness, and responsibility. That process trained us to think critically. We learned to observe, ask questions, and understand people's behavior. As a future teachers, this is so important because in real life, problems are rarely simple. They need empathy and critical thinking to find the root cause. So from this stage, I learned that lifelong learning begins when we stop making assumptions and start understanding situation with an open mind. When we started brainstorming about Smart Finder, everyone had different ideas. Some wanted a website, others suggested poster or campaigns. But instead of rejecting each other's ideas, we learned to combine them. That process of listening, debating, and improving made me appreciate teamwork and creativity even more. Lifelong learning also means being flexible, open to changes, and ready to learn new skills. For example, I learned how technology can support education and build responsible habits among students. This taught me that creativity doesn't just come from talent, but from collaboration and continuous effort. The awareness campaign, Care for Your Things, Care for Your Campus, was another meaningful step. It reminded me that education isn't just about knowledge, it's also about values and character. So through this campaign, we tried to encourage responsibility, honesty, and care among students. As future educators, we realized we have a role in shaping not only minds but also attitude. This experience showed me how education connects with the real world, how even a small initiative can inspire a culture of care. That's what lifelong learning looks like, when what we learn becomes something that improves others' life. Of course, the journey wasn't easy. We faced technical issues, time constraints, and even creative blocks. But those challenges were valuable teachers. They tested our patience, communication, and resilience. Every time we struggled, we learned to adapt and support one another. I realized that challenges are not signs of failure, they are opportunities to grow. In education, we will face many unexpected situations, but as lifelong learners, we can always find ways to improve. This experience strengthened my belief that passion for teaching grows through overcoming difficulties, not avoiding them. In the end, Smart Finder wasn't just a project about technology, it was a reflection of who we are becoming. We didn't just learn to solve problems, we learned to think, care, and collaborate as passionate future teachers. Lifelong learning is what keeps that passion alive, the willingness to keep exploring, questioning, and improving. As we move forward, I will carry this mindset with me, that education never ends, and every experience is a lesson waiting to be learned. So thank you, and let's continue learning for ourselves and for those who we will teach one day.